are just, you can mute us for now and you admit people, I think, or you leave us on. We are now on. Okay. Yes. Petra is on mute. Thank you. So I think now you can just start admitting people.
So we need mute us. I just admit.
What you can do, see, now, you can go onto the screen share and you just share the first slide, just the normal screen share, and you mute us and you go by basic.
Basic.
Yeah, for this one now, and you just open the PowerPoint down. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Yes, and then you just go on full screen. You put this one on presentation mode. Take the. Do you see when you pull the whole window down? Okay, yeah, there. Okay. Can you still see something though? Can you still move?
I'm here for 10 minutes and I'm going, yeah?
Okay. It doesn't. Are you still seeing the Zoom?
The Zoom I'm not seeing.
Okay. Then maybe exit. And what we do is we join the Zoom from here. Then you have this one, you can do from here as well. So you can go back, stop sharing and start admitting people, it doesn't matter, so then they see at least something is
So I
moving.
need them all, huh?
Yes. And you can mute us for now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we somehow, but
Azami. Ndio vinanya walikuwa wanataka nini? Uledi.
Mute everything.
Ndio kutumia uanze kujiandaa. Kumbe unaandaa presentation kwenye slide.
They're not supposed to be.
Wewe unafanyaje?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Are we
Good
on?
morning.
yeah,
Morning.
We are on. Yes, good morning. Could you all please turn off your microphones?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In the screen share. And then
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
and
yeah, and screen share.
here.
Yes. No, wait. Wait. What happened here? Oh, one. Okay. This is the video. Okay, why is it not coming on? Okay, now it's there. All right. All right. Good morning, everyone. Wesley, can you help me check again the viewing settings up in the corner?
This one.
Yes, and speaker view. Okay, that's perfect. All right, I can see we're already 75 people in, and it's about 5 past. So I think please mute your microphone. If you join, please join as you mute your microphone in case you get thrown out and come back in.
Baada ya maelezo hayo, ningependa tamka rasmi kwamba kikao cha leo kitakuwa ni tathmini ya utekelezaji wa
Please mute your microphone as you enter. All right. Okay, please make sure so that you are all in a separate room so we don't have any audio distortions. I think in the interest of time, maybe we get started. I see there's still a few people missing, so I hope they'll join within the next few minutes. Welcome everyone to our first session on knowledge management for beginners. This session is brought to you by KNOW-HOW3000, the knowledge management program of Horizon 3000. I hope all of you can hear and see me clearly. My name is Annika Witte, and I'm the flying TA in knowledge management here at the regional office in East Africa. And the purpose of today's session is really to introduce you all to knowledge management. What is it? How can you do this? How do you start this? And also, what does Horizon 3000 understand under knowledge management? And the feedback for this session has been really amazing because we have had over 100 people signing up for this training, which is great, but which also means that the interaction is a little bit different from a small setting. And I must admit, it's the first time we're doing this kind of webinar. So I think, as you can see, we are also on a learning curve here as to how best we can start this. So I'm guessing the next session already things will be flowing differently from today. So with this big session, it also means that we need your support in how we do this session. So whenever you join the session, please directly mute yourself as you enter so that we don't have this kind of interference while we're talking. And also, if you have questions throughout the session, please ask those questions in the chat. So I hope we all know where to find the chat. It's down where you can see, if you scroll down to your window, it will pop up and you can see the option for the chat. So you can always put your questions in the chat, and we will have dedicated times where you can ask questions as well. I'm here today with two co-facilitators. One is Petra Herout from Vienna. She's our knowledge management expert in Vienna. And I'm also here joined by Wesley Arima, who is our administrator here at the regional office. So I'd like to give the chance for them also to introduce themselves. Hello? Petra?
Yes, Veta from MSDP.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please mute yourself so that we can start the session? Thank you. Is Petra there?
Good morning, everyone. Yes.
Okay, yes. So this is Petra from Vienna.
I send you warm greetings from Vienna, even though it's not warm anymore. We are in really rainy times and it's 5 degrees outside. So we're anyway, I'm really happy to be there and seeing so many people. I'm a co-host and I'm busy letting in people, and please allow me to mute yourself if I see there is a few things going on in the participants list, and we will manage together to have that webinar as fruitful for each of us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Petra, for that. And Wesley, maybe you'll come around so that they also see you.
Hi, everyone. I welcome you for this webinar. All protocols observed. Yeah, look forward for fruitful meeting. Yeah, thank you.
Right. Okay, thank you, Wesley. So Wesley is behind the scenes sort of, and is busy admitting people and trying to see that everything is running smoothly. But yeah, of course, we know at some times it's our internet connection, someone else's connection, or there are technical glitches that happen, but we try to, on our side, keep it to the minimum. So yeah, I would like to start the session already. I think we are almost all the people there, right? Are there any left in the waiting room? Because then I think we just start.
No, I will check the waiting room while you talk and assure that all people come in, even though there are still people coming in, but to start, and I will let them in as they come in.
Okay.
Rodia, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Good morning. Okay. All right. So as Petra is helping also with the admin, the allowing people, admitting them into the rooms, could we go to the presentation, Wesley? So we share the screen. Advanced. Through advanced with the, we want to try if it works. Perfect. So this online session series, let me already start a bit, is based on 4 sessions, as you all know. And the idea is to give you an introduction to what is knowledge management, and to how we see it at Horizon 3000. And okay, we are almost there. Wait. Sorry. One second, please. We're having a small problem with our screen sharing, but we shall resolve this. Okay, and here. And
there's a question. Yes, the training is recorded. The record has already started. We will record all the 4 sessions because we even have interest from Mozambique in technical advisors and partners and different people. So we will record it and then see how to best share it with the others.
Yes, thank you for that, Petra. So yes, the session is recorded. If you don't want to be recorded, you can, of course, stay muted and turn off your camera. And if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. So yes, please feel free that you manage your own privacy settings here. So I hope you can see me now clearly on this screen and on top of the presentation. So yes, so welcome everyone once again. As I see some people are still joining, please allow us that we start because it's already 1/4 past. I hope you don't hear the dog barking in the background. If you do, that is our security dog, Puffy, and Puffy at times makes some noise, but for now we are all safe. So today's session is going to be the first in the series of 4 sessions, and the first session is really an introduction to the basics. What are the definitions? What are terminologies? How do you do this? What is really knowledge management? Because it's somewhat of a buzzword that we hear, but then it's sometimes not so clear what it really involves. So if we can click to the next slide, Wesley. I think down there should not. Maybe let's see. Yeah, perfect. So we have the 4 sessions. So today, the introduction to the basics. Then in the next session, we will look at a capacity assessment tool. So this is a tool that together with Petra, we have developed here at Horizon 3000. And it's a self-assessment tool. So it gives you the chance to look at where do you stand with your knowledge management, where do you want to go, what are your needs, and what do you have in place. So we will look at that tool in the second session. And please mute your microphones as you join. Thank you very much. And then we will have 2 sessions about experience capitalization. And this is because experience capitalization, and we will get to what it really is such an important part to us in knowledge management, and we believe in general it is important. And what it involves is learning from the experiences that you as an organization make. So we want to dig into what are the methods, what do we do here, and to maybe even try out one of them. So that is the overall session plan. If we click to the next slide, please, then we see today's session, the introduction to the basics. One more click, please. And what we go through is we have a presentation from my side on some of the basics, and then Petra from Vienna will take over on how do you start knowledge management at your organization. And then she will also give an introduction into the KNOW-HOW 3000 program, which is really her brainchild. So without further ado, let's go into this. And yes, we can click again. What I want to do first, and I see I'm a bit on top of where I'm supposed to be. So what I want to do first is a small icebreaker. So I want you to all get involved, and let's see how this goes. This will be something that will pop up again throughout the webinar. So let's take time and try this out right now. So I want to do a small word cloud, as it's called. And for that, I would need you to either open another browser window on your computer, or maybe take your smartphone and go to www.sli.do. This is where we can do live polls, and we shall be using this, as I said. So please go to www.sli.do. And when you reach there, it will prompt you to put an event code. And the event code is 34605. So when it prompts you to put that code for the event, put 34605 and enter. And you will immediately see a question, and we can go there now, Wesley. If we can shift, we stop this sharing, and then we on top. We can stop this, and then we go to screen share again to share now our on basic. When we go to basic, we share the one in the center.
This one.
Down, one more down, that one, yes, thank you. So please all go to the website. You can also see it here. This is the Slido website, so please go there. And when this pops up, you will, maybe we can go on show results. A question will pop up for you, saying, no, to the right.
Can you type the code in the chat again, because they can't see that now?
Okay, the code is 34605, and I think we can go here. Okay, so someone wrote the code, so you can also see the code on the screen. That's perfect. So write what comes to your mind really. Just one word is enough of when you hear knowledge management, what do you think about? What comes there immediately? So we already have impact and we have story. And that's definitely something, right? Of how do you store things, how do you document things. Let's see what more we get. Is anybody facing difficulties with this? No? Okay, maybe
Works
everybody else
perfectly,
thinks
and I see a lot of words. And there was numerous questions if we share the slides, the PowerPoint slides, and I said in the chat room, yes, they will be shared via email.
Yes, the PowerPoints will be shared.
Slide.do. I've shared the site again in the chat.
Okay, thank you. So the code you have to put in, you can see it on the screen, I hope.
And in the chat.
And in the chat. So go to www.sli.do and then put in whatever comes to your mind. Are we still seeing this? Let's see. Okay.
I like the one somebody says it's a mystery.
Okay, maybe we have to stop this. Aha, yes, okay, now.
But skills and information is quite
yes.
a lot mentioned.
Yes, we see information, making good use of existing and new skills, leadership. Okay, let's keep them coming in. And we have 36 votes, so I think we still miss a few of the votes. So let's see.
There's some person not finding where to put the code. So there, if you enter slide.do, there is on the left side beneath event code where it says event, and there you put in the code, and then you should be there.
Okay. So let's give it another 2 or 3 minutes for everyone to find it and to submit their poll. There's still some coming in. See. Let's take a look at the results maybe. You can still put yours in, but let's take a look at what we have here. So can you all see this on the right? So what we see right now is information standing out quite huge, but we also see documentation. We see making use of skills, I like that, and skills once again. We see experience or experiences. We see sharing of information. I like also that we see people very close to sharing. So actually also relatively close to the center. We see the proper use of knowledge, organized, records keeping. So we see quite a lot of things that actually are very much connected to what knowledge management is. So from just looking at this, I think there's already quite some idea about what this could be about and what knowledge management could involve. So from this, let's see how many have still voted, whether we still get an update. It pretty much looks the same. So I think we have some little bit more about the ability to make reasonable decisions and organizing and storing information. And we have the lessons learned, also quite important. So yeah, maybe we take a cut here now and take this as it is for now. And we have also tried out the tool. And I will end the poll now, and we shall go back to our presentation. So Wesley, could you do the screen sharing again with the advanced sharing? Yes. Oh, no. I don't know what that is. Sorry. Okay, let's do it. Okay. And here we go again. 1 second. Okay.
Perfect.
And here we are. All right. So yes, we have now been through this small word cloud. So you see, it's also true that we are also getting to know, but it gives a nice first idea of what is going on. And from here, from that moment also where you had this information standing as a very central part of what comes to mind when you think of knowledge management, I'd like to start from that point with the presentation. In knowledge management, the way we look at knowledge is sort of with this iceberg metaphor. So when you see an iceberg, you see that part of the iceberg that is above the water, and that is what we call the explicit knowledge. That's the knowledge that is available in books, in reports, knowledge that has been written down, knowledge that has been made available for other people. But then we have this huge chunk under the water, and that is what we refer to as the implicit or the tacit knowledge. And that's knowledge that's not readily available. It's knowledge that is hidden within people. It's the skills they have, the know-how they have. So it's something that is still within the people. And it is important to keep this in mind when you think of knowledge. That is not just the papers that we have, but it's also what's inside the people. And it's a reminder that knowledge is really something that people create. And this is the point where knowledge management starts these days. It starts with the people. We also saw that there was people in our work club. We have people relatively close to the center, and people are of central importance in knowledge management. And what knowledge management these days, the way it's understood, does for you is it helps you to transform some of that chunk that's under the water into explicit knowledge. So it helps you to tap into the know-how that people have. It helps you to extract some of that knowledge that's within people and to tap into that potential. And there is a difference between this managing sort of the explicit knowledge and this implicit knowledge. And before, I think a lot of focus was on managing explicit knowledge and how knowledge management also started focusing on, say, databases and those kind of things. That is just one part. And sort of since then, it has really evolved, and it's really more about the people and how to get into this, how to get under the water, basically, and dig into this tacit knowledge. So this is sort of what knowledge is for knowledge management. But the question could be, what do you really get out of this? What do you get out of tapping into this tacit knowledge, of tapping into the know-how or the skills of people? And what it generally can do is really, it unlocks the potential, it unlocks the potential value. And if you think about it and in your own organization of how many things are really connected to people, and I think there's especially certain times where you notice how much value it was within one person. For instance, when someone leaves a job, and then you realize how much that person was actually doing and contributing and how little maybe you have been able to retain. So knowledge management is one of the points where you come in and you try to unlock that potential. And knowledge management serves your organizational objectives, your strategies, and your needs. And that's a very important point. It can help you get to where you want to get. It helps you on that process, but you have to find your own way about it. So what is it really? So this is what it can do for you, but what is it really? How would we define it? And one way to define it, and I think I'm somehow blocking the view now. Let me see if I can shift a bit to the side. So knowledge management is about mobilizing, finding and acquiring knowledge. It's about developing and organizing and structuring and processing that knowledge. And it's about integrating it, distributing it, transferring it, sharing it, and connecting it. And all of that in a systematic and integrated and goal-oriented manner. So what I just said about it serving your organizational strategy objectives, that can only work if it's integrated to what you are already doing. And what is important about this definition is that knowledge management is, for one, defining what knowledge you need and what purpose you need it for. And then knowledge management takes care of the processes of how you get that knowledge, how you find where that knowledge is hidden, and how you make that knowledge accessible to others, right? There's so many ways of sharing, of documenting, and then also of communicating. And at all of these levels is where knowledge management comes in. So it's much more than just a database or an IT tool. It's really what I said before. It's about the people. It's about connecting people and finding those ways that make people share, communicate, share about what they know of the experiences they have made. And this has been, as I also said, a shift in knowledge management, away from the focus of just what's on the paper to more interactive, more collaborative ways. And all these things that might now seem a little bit overwhelming, all these verbs, we can organize them into a cycle, what's called a knowledge cycle. And there you can see that it's going through certain steps always. So the first thing is sort of knowing what you need. What are your knowledge goals? What do you need to know as an organization to work well and to achieve your objectives? And then from there, you go into your organization and you try to find out to maintain the knowledge that you have, to gain new knowledge, both externally, looking outside the organization, but also internally. What knowledge is there that you have not tapped into? What are things that your staff know that maybe you don't even know that they know? And to make this knowledge accessible, to capitalize it, and to thereby expand your knowledge base. And then another step is to share it, to document it, to store it, and also to apply it. So applying knowledge is an important part as well. So we tend to think, okay, we have documented it and then it's fine. But from also, once again, the history of knowledge management, there was so much focus on databases until it was realized that a database without anyone using it is really useless, right? So it's very important to also consider that step of how do we apply this knowledge? And once again, if you have thought about the needs of what you need, what knowledge you need, the chances that then you'll later also apply it are, I would say, a lot higher. So those are all the things that you do in this knowledge cycle: finding, capitalizing, expanding knowledge, sharing it, applying it, storing it as well, and then also assessing what you have been doing. So you're all aware of this monitoring and evaluation, checking on what are we doing, how efficient is it, how effective is it, and that's also something that we can take to knowledge management, where we also look at, okay, how has this process been? Is this what we are doing under knowledge management really supporting the process that we have? Is it really helping us? So this is an important step as well. And it important so that it also keeps us flexible and adaptive to the environment in which we are working. And I've mentioned it already several times now, but one of the key things of knowledge management is integration. And integration is so important because knowledge management shouldn't be an extra burden to your organization. It shouldn't be something that, okay, you have to do this just to sort of make the knowledge manager happy. It should be something that is really integrated into what you do, and that makes at best work even easier for you. And there are 3 different levels at which you can consider this. The very general level is at your organizational level, your strategy, your leadership, and your culture. And I would like to walk through as to what this really means and how does knowledge management come in at these different levels. So for the strategy, I mentioned it's knowledge management can help you achieve your strategic goals, and it should be integrated with your strategy. You don't need an extra knowledge management strategy, but you can integrate it within your strategy that you have in place. And when you think of what knowledge management you want to do, what processes you want to start, or what tools you want to maybe use, it is very important to consider what culture do you have. And I don't mean the Ugandan culture or the Austrian culture. What I mean is your organization. So each organization has their own culture. Let's call it a way of doing things, a style of how you work together. And that can involve the leadership style that you have. Do you have very flat hierarchies, or are there very clear hierarchies of who can decide and who can't decide? And then there are also the ways of how you collaborate. How readily do people share? How comfortable do they feel sharing? All those things are very important to consider in when you do your knowledge management. Because, and I'll use a quote by an Austrian management consultant, Petra, who says, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." Meaning, no matter what wonderful strategy you have devised for your knowledge management or for your organization, unless it really fits in with your culture, it has very little chance of surviving the way you intended it. So it's important to see that sort of the two align, and you critically look at what culture do you have in place, are we happy with this, and then you fit what you want to do under knowledge management within this. Then, so this is the broader level of the organization. Then when we come to the interpersonal level, the collaborative knowledge management is really that part of where teamwork is happening. So how do your staff actually work together? What are the processes that are in place? What are maybe also the IT tools that you are using? And to look at this and see whether this is in line with what you want to achieve and whether this makes collaboration easy is an important part. And by now, there are very many IT tools out there. We have the Zoom here, we have Teams, we have Google Docs. We have very many ways now of collaborating on documents. And it's important to understand also how your staff work with these things. Because once again, an IT tool itself will never be the solution. So it really depends on how people want to use the tool and whether they see a need in using it, or whether it gives something back to them using it. And then finally, we have the personal level. So once again, I think I'm blocking it. Now you can see it. So the personal level, everybody has their own style of learning, their own style of organizing things, and knowledge management can support this. So it can support the personal, the individual initiatives that people take. So it can sit in that, and it can tap into this creativity that people have, the innovation people bring to the organization. So it can further this exchange, or this bringing in of the individual. But also it has to balance it. So if there are too many different individual styles, for instance, in how you store a document, then it can become very difficult. If you imagine an archive and everybody saves things differently, one person decides to save by the name of the person who wrote it, the other one by the organization, the next one by the beneficiary's name, you will have a very difficult time trying to track the information down again. So there has to be that balance between what sort of individual styles and then what the organization style is and how you have to find it really. So it's really important to keep this in mind, those three different layers or levels of knowledge management. And I think by now I've talked a lot about also learning, and learning is another important part of how you bring in knowledge management. So in this picture, we can see how knowledge management and organizational learning come together and interconnect. So if you have this disposition in your organization of learning, of seeking knowledge from outside, from other sources, be it other partners, universities, online courses, whatever, that's great. But with knowledge management, you also have tools in hand or processes through which you can really keep this knowledge, retain it, and make it available for reusing and for enhancing and for broadening your base, your knowledge base. So you can look at knowledge management as the infrastructure that helps you run all this knowledge, right? And with this, if you combine this nicely, as we can see here, the outcome is sort of this learning organization. And learning organization is understood to be an organization that is very flexible, very adaptive to its environment, very agile, very innovative, and it's easy for that organization to respond to changes and to creatively respond to them. So that is something that maybe is not important for all organizations at the very final stage of being a learning organization, but to some extent it is relevant for everyone to be aware of what's going on in the environment and to have means and ways of how to handle this and how to incorporate new knowledge into the organization. And so that's where this is so relevant, and that's where the two actually come together. So with this, I'm actually coming to the end of this first part of the session. I hope I haven't been talking too fast. I know I tend to speak very fast. I hope you could follow me. And to see whether you could follow or not, I want to do a small reflection exercise. And what we're going to do is you'll do this on your own. You'll take a piece of paper and you just draw a cross on the paper. And then in the upper quadrant, you write, what is becoming clear for me now? So after what I've just talked through with you, what is clear for you now? And then on the other one, you can write, what is still puzzling me? So what are things that are not very clear? Maybe it is because I was talking too fast, maybe because things were not clear enough. So whatever it is, even if it's just a question, an extra question that has popped up now, something that maybe you've been wondering about and that is still not clear, write it down here. And I would say we take like 5 minutes for this, where you can really sit back and think about it. And then we shall open the floor for a small Q&A session. Thank you for now. So let's take the 5 minutes from now. Just for clarification, you don't have to write this in the chat box, you just write it for yourself. So this is really just a self-reflection exercise. We don't really have the chance to share all of this in the bigger group. My apologies for that, but since we are above 50 or 70 participants, we cannot really have the sharing moment, unfortunately. But still, I think it's a nice exercise for you to take that time and look at, okay, what's clear, what's not clear, and we can then, you can ask the questions in the chat box, or once we change, we also can allow, if you raise your hand, we can also see that we have someone ask the questions live, so that it's not just us talking all the time. Okay.
There is a question from Jacqueline if they should write in the chat box. No, you write on your piece of paper your reflection, what is becoming clear, what is puzzling you. So you know that for yourself on your white piece of paper. And afterwards, we will have a very short round possibility for a few of you sharing maybe what is still puzzling you.
So you have like around a minute left to wind up your thoughts or get a question ready that you would like to ask in the group. Please, everyone, mute yourselves. Yes. Okay. All right. So yes, welcome back, or from the reflection exercise. So I hope you had the time. I hope you could go through this. And I see someone was writing in the chat of what's clear and what's not yet clear. And I'd like to read this out, and then please also raise your hands. We have like a few minutes, maybe until 11, to answer questions. So please raise your hand. We'll try to see through the participant what the questions are, so that at least we can maybe find some 3 or more questions. So the first one I see is what approaches can we use to ensure retention of learnings. That didn't come out clearly yet in sort of what the practical way is. And yes, so this one was really the first step to see, okay, what does it mean and what is it about? And when we go closer, especially under the experience capitalization, we will see ways of what are methods of how you can retain experiences and or learn from experiences, and what are the ways of how we can do this. So that will come up later in the session. So it's fine that it's not yet clear, because yeah, we've not really dug into that yet. So what is not clear yet also is mentioned how you integrate the KM strategy with the organizational strategy. And I would guess that some of this becomes clearer the more you know what knowledge management is, the more that you learn about the methods that you can use, and sort of moving away from seeing this knowledge management as a huge thing, but understanding that it's really sometimes very small or sometimes even simple processes that can be used to do it really. And so I think this comes in, but Petra, whenever you want to come in as well, start chiming in, because Petra will take over after this. But I'm really happy that she's also here, because she's really one of the veterans of it in Vienna. So whenever you feel you want to add something, please feel free.
Yes, for that point, I wanted just to say that after our little breakdown reflection, I will briefly show like different ways of how to start with knowledge management. So we'll touch that question. However, on this knowledge management session, therefore, we have prepared, we will not go in detail on how you now do that with the strategy and really step-by-step guidance. However, I would suggest that we complete these 4 sessions, and whoever of you is then interested to really start that and do that, we will interact and find a solution to do an extra session maybe on how strategy and knowledge management can be combined. But for now, I will touch it a little bit, and we will keep record on that question that there is an interest.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Then what else do we have? We have someone saying that the knowledge cycle is not yet too clear. Maybe since I've described it my way, maybe Petra, you want to describe it in your way. Maybe sometimes it helps to hear 2 different versions. And
basically that, as Annika really nicely said, each organization has to find his or her own terminology and terms. I mean, the knowledge cycle that Annika presented is a very general one that comes from the theory and from people that wrote a lot on knowledge management. Basically, what I would like to remember is that there is this inner cycle that was kind of gray shadow it, and there was these 2 outside things. So what is actually important for you on knowledge, and what is your strategic knowledge, that this is something you need to define somehow and somewhere. And then the cycle starts in your processes, however you work. You need to make sure that you can find the knowledge that you need internally or externally, that you further develop it, be it that you innovatively create something new, or you create your own tools that you need to do, etc. So you further develop or create new knowledge, and then you somehow capitalize it if it's not yet there. And once you have the knowledge there, you share it, you apply it, and you somehow store it. So that cycle. And the wording we are using here comes from theory. But as I said, one good exercise would always be to see for your organization, how is your process? What do? You do projects with, I don't know, agricultural project somewhere, and you have a wording of your organization. And then you would see, okay, what is the knowledge cycle or knowledge management, how we see it, use it, and you find terminologies that you understand. But basically, it's like, do you find what you need? Do you further develop the knowledge that you need? You capitalize it, you share it, you store it, and you assess if you do the things in a way that is serving your needs and is serving your organizational objectives. So don't be afraid to ask questions if a few terminologies or terms are not clear. However, I always say, once you have gone through the 4 webinars, take the time to reflect with your team to find your wordings, and for your culture, for your organizational style, to make it as close to you as possible, also from the wording.
Yes, thank you, Petra. I've seen some more questions come in. One is about how do you change the perception, or how do you make the organization see the importance of knowledge management? That is, of course, a tough question. And well, I'm not sure you have to change the organizational culture to do knowledge management. So you can do knowledge management even with any existing culture that is there, right? That's where the integration, which is another question that came up, comes in, where you look at, okay, what is there and what is already happening, right? What do we already have in place? And I think we will get into this maybe also in Petra's part of the session of how do you approach this, how do you start this? So I don't want to go into depth in this, but please bring the question back in case maybe the second part of the session did not answer it yet. Then there was the question of how do you pass on knowledge? So how do you keep sort of the torch going? And that's, once again, those are methods that you can use. Those are ways in knowledge management of how do you handle handovers, right? Handover between staff. And that's one part. And the other part is how do you document? So which way do you document? And as Petra just mentioned, there is not really a quick fix or a one-size-fits-all solution for knowledge management, but it really always depends on your organization and how you want to use it and what you want to do and what works in your context, right? So that's why we shy away from saying, okay, this one and you do it always, because sometimes it doesn't work in some organizations. And so it has to be sort of fitted into that. There was one question about what was it? I saw there was one about the guiding principle in hiring staff. I
saw that question. Should knowledge management be the guiding principle in recruitment and firing of staff? Well, no, there is different principles and guiding criteria for when staff comes into an organization but leaves. But let's wait, because one part of my session later on will be the cycle of employees and how when you enter the organization and leave, to give more clearance of what role knowledge management has in that staff life cycle.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, I think that maybe also the question of how is it passed on, we've had that one. And and what else do we have? Let's maybe take in a few more. How do you tap into the knowledge and the skill or the potential of an employee? So those are all questions, and it's nice that these questions come up because it shows that you are interested in this. This is something that maybe you have already realized, that there is this untapped knowledge. And I think we will handle this over the course of this series, that you get some ideas of what you could do. But as Petra also mentioned, if after this you feel like you would want to do more, then you can also get in touch with us if you feel that there's something more you want to do and learn about. What else do we have? Is staff training part of the knowledge cycle? Yes, it can be. If you look at it that you expand knowledge, right? You bring in knowledge from outside, this sort of this external learning where staff go somewhere. The important thing, though, is sending someone to a training is not sufficient for it to bring it into your organization. So sending someone to a training means that person has attended the training and has that knowledge, but it still hasn't transferred back into your organization. So when you send someone on a staff training, the question for you as an organization will be, and how do we get this knowledge back in? So there are different ways, and organizations that we work with already do this, of having extra sessions back in the organization where this person who went to the training is now the expert and is doing the workshop for everyone. But there can be very many different ways of how to approach this. So once again, there's not one solution for everyone. There's the question of when do you know what to share? And that one comes back to what you need, the knowledge that you need, and what you need it for, right? So it's important to define this, to define what you need as an organization and what you want it for, and who to share it with. So I like the question a lot because it already looks at, okay, so what do we do with it? For who do we do with this? And this is very important when you share. whatever you do, it sort of has to be also customized to the audience that you're addressing, right? And it has to sort of answer something, a question that they have or a need that they have. Then let's maybe take one more. I see there's still plenty more, but we can still answer them afterwards as well as we end the session. What do we have? I'm going the wrong way. So how best is information sharing? So there's a lot of question of how do you communicate? How do you do this? So this is something that we shall not go into detail now. I think it can come up in later sessions where maybe we look at this again of okay, how do you customize messages? But this is not really about communication. So communication in knowledge management is very important, but it's not the same as having a PR or an official communication channel, right? So I think in that sense, I would distinguish the two a little bit. So communication internally and how you get this going is important. And it's an important step of preparing things for communication outside and thinking through what is relevant, what is needed, or what can we share with others. But it's not exactly the same as communication in the sense of public relations. So there it is two different things. Yes. So I think in the interest of time, we maybe wrap it up here with the questions. We will have another session, another Q&A after Petra's part, so don't worry, we get back to that, and then we can still see at the end how much time is remaining. So thank you for now. We are switching now over to Petra.
Yes, so you will share the screen, or shall I share the screen?
Yes, we shall share the screen for you. All right.
Yeah, I like it that you pose a lot of questions, because one of the knowledge management principles is that we all know more than we can say, and we all say more than we can write down. And you helped me a lot, and Annika and our team, by asking questions, because we have collected a lot of experiences and knowledge on knowledge management, and everything that is in our brains and bodies stored on that experience, we cannot pass on by these online webinars, but we tried to prepare a structure. We tried to prepare the topics in a 4 webinar series, which will for sure not cover everything that you would like to know. So you ask questions, and you, by asking us the questions, you're getting that, we're getting that impulse to share what we know. And I will see to answer a few of the still open questions while I go through the next slides. If they are not answered yet, then we will see how to best answer them at the end of the session. And I would like to start with, again, the people focus. When we did that Slido thing, that the combination of what words you see that knowledge management are for you is, could you do it bigger, the slides, because I see them now in twofold, Annika, or I don't know if the others can see them. Yeah, you should. It's not full screen yet. I still see the 2 slides, both. But I would like to focus again on that people aspect of knowledge management. And there is another saying of Peter Drucker, who is that management expert. He says you can't manage knowledge because it's between your 2 ears, which means that, you know, when it comes to people, our brains, like our human brains, are quite complex, and the way we store and the way we we use knowledge is quite complex. So we have prepared one slide when it comes to the staff life cycle. It was okay, Annika. I think it's fine if you go to the animation. Again, no. So when it comes to your employees or people in your organizations, there is a life cycle from when they begin. So when they are hired, when they enter, they come into your organization until they leave your organization. And this life cycle has a lot to do with knowledge management. As the question was already raised, now is knowledge management the criteria for your hiring and firing? No, it's not the criteria, but it is guiding you a lot, and it is also supporting your staff life cycle and the cycle from entering people into an organization to leaving it. And it starts with when a person enters your team or your organization, then you do some kind of onboarding. So you want to make sure that that person comes into your organization, your team well. He or she gets all the information she needs to do the job. However, with the expert onboarding, there is a few do's and don'ts or a few recommendations. There are a lot of organizations that do a very, I would say, not structured onboarding, that they have a few topics and things that they explain to their new colleagues, to the staff, like that's your IT stuff, the computer, how you work, that is our server and how you store the things, and that's it. Other organizations have quite a well-structured onboarding time frame and plan, where it's clear the person who comes into the organization is talking first of all with this person, then with HR, then with accounting, then with the managing director, and then with the field officers, and with everybody. There is a meeting organized in the structure, and it's facilitated. So that's the other end of the extreme. However, I would like to invite you, when it comes to knowledge management, and to make sure that when a person comes into your organization, I suggest and I recommend that you have a kind of a structure and a facilitated process, that that person feels welcome in a way that he or she knows, there is something guiding me through my first weeks, months, half year of my work at the organization. And the second recommendation, when it comes to the onboarding, we call in knowledge management, they call it expert onboarding. Basically, everybody's an expert in his or her field of work. It's a lot of organizations and companies I know, they do onboarding in a way that their objective is that the person that comes into their team gets to know all the things he or she needs to know to do her job. But they completely forget that the new person coming in has a lot of skills and competences and experience he or she brings with him. And the onboarding process is as well a good opportunity to harvest that experience, this external experience and the knowledge that person brings in, and to share it with the other employees. There is so many onboarding cases that I got to know where people enter an organization and they are hired for a specific project. Let's say one agricultural project financed by a donor, and you hire a person who is managing that. And we completely forget to ask the person what other competences he or she brings in with that could be very valuable for the public relations, for getting other grants, for communication. So make sure that you harvest all the experience and knowledge that this person brings in the organization and share it with your other colleagues. And there is a few methods that one could use in teams to make explicit what competences, what skills are there. There is some kind of a tool that I use at the team at Horizon 2000, which is called a competence matrix or a competence mapping, that in the team that exists, you know who is having which competences and skills, not only for the job he or she is doing, but generally also what she's bringing in. And if a new person enters the team or the organization, you could do the same mapping and integrate him or her into that mapping and see what does that person bring in and what could that be helping us, or how could we use it? Could you click to get the second step on that staff cycling? Yeah. Annika told you already the personal knowledge management is personal use. There is a quite strong link to how innovative people can be while they work at your organization. So you have people hired to do a certain job and you expect them to do certain things. And a few organizations allow people to be quite innovative in the way how to do it, or to be innovative and have ideas, create maybe new pilot projects and think of something new. And during the life cycle of an organization, of a person in your organization, this is scalable. It depends a lot on how much freedom and how much room of creativity an organization allows. And it depends if the person is hired and is entering an organization in a way that she knows it is welcome to be creative, or it is not welcome. And this is enabling or hindering creativity a lot. So this is, I will not go further in detail there, because it just shows that a staff life cycle and how knowledge, specifically new knowledge creation, can be enabled, and that has a lot to do of if innovation and creativity is actually allowed in the organization. The next, please. Yes, here comes in what Annika said, this personal use of knowledge. Now, we said it needs to be balanced. There are organizational criteria of how you deal with all the data, the information, and the knowledge. And this is the better the onboarding is, and the clearer for the new person that enters the team or the organization it is from the beginning how to do things, the higher the chance is that you as an organization might have people that really follow some kind of storage and documenting rules, and also sharing rules. If the onboarding is quite rough and there is no guidance of how you manage data and information and knowledge, then you might end up having a lot of different ways of dealing with data in your organization. That's what Annika says. And the personal use, of course, each person brings in different availability and ability to do the job. And I want to take one example, which is a challenge for a lot of organizations, is how you document and the contact details for your work. Contact details are quite an essential resource for our organizations. And each person in an organization has a lot of contacts within and outside the organization. So how do you store that? Because if somebody is leaving the organization, how can you capture and share the different contact details? So this relationship capital that is there, how do you manage that? And this is a very personal use of knowledge, because a lot of persons have different styles. The one is using Outlook, the other one is not using Outlook, is storing it somewhere in an Excel table, etc. So make sure that you find out from the beginning, when you do the onboarding, when you get to know your employees, to find out how and which methods and which availability and ability of managing data, information, and knowledge has the person, and then match it with your guidance and with your rules and regulations that you have come up, and with your organizational culture, to also present it to the new employee and make sure that they are matching as much as possible. The next, please. Yes, the knowledge management in processes and projects. Basically, for whatever project the person is hired or a person is working with, there are certain knowledge capturing, knowledge sharing tools and formats that are there. Meetings is a very important one, and not only virtual meeting as we're having it now, but also a lot of physical meetings. They play a very important role when it comes to the sharing and capturing of knowledge that is there. And meetings can enable a lot of knowledge sharing, but they can also hinder quite a lot of knowledge sharing. It depends a lot how they are prepared, how they are done, etc. So when the person is working in whatever project or process in the organization, it could also be that an accountant is entering the organization and he or she is doing her accountant job. There are certain processes that need to be followed when it comes to the knowledge of that person. And here, knowledge management tries to make sure and set a few standards, but also set the standards in the way that the processes and projects follow or guide the project teams or the staff in a way that the objectives can be achieved and it's serving the needs of the organization. The next one, please. We have one party which says knowledge management as a management responsibility. Now, it depends on the organization in how you're structured, but basically management, the leaders of an organization, they have a very important role when it comes to knowledge and how knowledge is managed. Twofold. First of all, because the way they act and the way they capture and share and store knowledge, people watch them and people, they follow them the way they do it. So there is, if a regulation is there, or if there is standards of how to document and store things, and then the management does not follow these rules and just doing whatever they want, the risk is very high that the rest of the organization will not do it. So management has an important role because others follow them. They see how they do it, and it's important that they practice what they preach, as I said. And second of all, management has an important role in also the selection and who is entering the organization or not. So the criteria for hiring and firing is directly influenced by management and what criteria they set there. And management and how leadership is done can influence a lot to build up that knowledge culture, that knowledge sharing culture. There was a question before, how could you develop the culture in an organization in a way that it is more a knowledge culture and enables knowledge management? Basically, as a management tool, I suggest that if an organization has regular staff appraisal meetings, like at Herout 3000, for example, every year we have one staff meeting or staff interview, bilateral with the management, so with your direct boss, covering different things, the objective for the year, if you have everything you need to do your job, how is your work-life balance, like is it, do you have enough time to do the job, etc. And you can integrate there in this yearly staff appraisal in like meeting or interview aspects on knowledge management. Do you find all the information that you need? Are you able to share the knowledge that you have? Do you feel appreciated for the knowledge you have in the organization? Is it easy for you to share the knowledge with others, etc.? So you can use this regular meetings between management and the staff to get a bit the picture and the culture of the organization when it comes to knowledge and knowledge sharing and knowledge management. Because each individual has different ways of how to share. Some of them are very shy, they don't want to share. Others are want to be appreciated for what they have, and they are frustrated if the knowledge is not used that they have, etc. So there is a lot of differences between your staff, and you need to make sure from the management side that there is some kind of exchange, and you have integrated that topic into the different meetings or exchanges with your staff. Yes, can go ahead. There's one in red, which I would like to mention, even though that I have to say it is more important for really big organizations. Knowledge loss risk assessment is something that bigger organizations do when they have a big number of persons working for them. So the staff number is quite high, and they want to make sure that if there are persons in the team, in the organization, that have very critical knowledge, For instance, there is an EU funding officer who has all the knowledge when it comes to EU co-financing. And the organization says, well, if this person gets sick and cannot come to work tomorrow, we have a big problem because this is our core business. We want to get EU funding and EU money. So the organization can do a knowledge loss risk assessment, which is an assessment, meaning we check every now and then. Normally you do that biannually every 3 to 4 years, or maybe you do it during your strategy development. But you check every now and then, where is the critical knowledge for our business, for our organization, and how can we make sure that this critical knowledge of this 1 or 2 or 3 persons that are there is captured well every now and then, that we don't risk if the person gets sick or cannot come to the office tomorrow or doesn't want to work for us anymore. These are all things that happen, that we make sure that a part of that knowledge that is in the brain of that very important person for organization is captured and is spread and shared with others. There is a tool for that knowledge loss risk assessment. However, I say if an organization is small, the need is not that high to do such an assessment, because you know quite well who is doing what, and the chance that different people in your organization know a little bit more on the different knowledge areas. Yes, next one, please. There should one still be coming. Yes, the expert debriefing is also a very crucial one. If an organization, if a person leaves the company or the team, then there's a lot of knowledge that you can harvest. Either you harvest it in between because you have some sharing and learning meetings, or when the person leaves, I really advise that you have a structured process guiding the person on the debriefing and the leaving process. And this is not a very sophisticated task. It just needs time and some templates that you know who is going to talk with whom, how can you store and document the knowledge that is there, etc. So there are a few processes and templates for that, and I will not go into detail now. I just want to make sure that you know that the leaving of a person is a very intense time, because normally people leave, they still have to get some, take their vacation, and they have to do the job while they prepare the debriefing and the passing on of their knowledge. So make sure there is a structure and a facilitation of that debriefing and leaving process, and make sure that you have clear guidance of what is necessary knowledge that you want to harvest from that person and how you can transfer it. What is not mentioned here, but I want to say, is that the training of a person and skills development is also part of a life cycle. It's not specifically knowledge management, but it is interacting with knowledge management, of course, as Annika said. And we will see if we do an extra slide at another session on that, but it is part of the life cycle of the staff, though. Next one, please. We can continue. I have still 2 slides for you to share with the starting of knowledge management. And as I said, we will not go in detail there, but I want you to explain 2 ways of how to integrate and start with knowledge management. First of all, the official way. If you have management backup and your board of advisors says, yes, we really need to improve on knowledge management, and when we start an official knowledge management process, then you start by sensitizing, getting your commitment and buy-in from the different structures of your organization. And then you do some kind of knowledge management assessment. You can call it knowledge audit, you can call it knowledge management assessment, needs assessment, etc. So you do an assessment and you define your mission and your vision or your clear objectives. And then you conceptualize based on the needs and the assessment results, where you start, where you prioritize, and what you do. You project what you need to do, you plan for it, you budget it, and then you implement it. So it's a very clear, as you all know it from our project development, However, to start in an official way, you need to have the backup from the beginning, from your top management, from your board of advisors, or whoever is taking the decisions in your organization. And you need to have some budget there or some funding opportunity to do and start that proper process. I would like to go to the second one, because that's the one that Horizon 3000 followed 10 years ago, which is the guerrilla way. I said guerrilla is that South American or Central American way to hiding somewhere in the bush and trying to do things and influence others, but hiding a little bit. And this way to start knowledge management is that you start with very small activities on core topics that you find important, and you start very little and you just do it, which at Horizon 3000 meant that a very small group said we need to do it. We developed a project and we found we found the financing for a very smaller part, and we just did it. We talked about it. We talked about the successes of the implementation. We talked about the impact that we see, and we created a bit the community around knowledge management, and in our words, around KNOW-HOW 3000. So we started doing it in a very small group. We started talking about it. We got allies and a community, and then we coordinated the activities in a structured way. We found champions, we found allies like Annika, TAs, flying TAs on the topic. We have a bigger group now, and we have managed to also enter the Horizon 3000 strategy with the topic and institutionalize knowledge management only 2 years ago, where we did the first knowledge management audit on the strategy level, meaning that it took us a few years to start doing project programs, getting the awareness of the different people before we managed to institutionalize it. And it is a way, if you don't have the backup completely beforehand, and if you don't have a very big budget, then you start little. And even if you start little, you need to make sure that it is related to your business and to your processes and to your objectives, best to your strategy if possible, to make sure that whatever you start doing is serving the needs of your organization, and you have some quick wins and impact stories to tell, to show that this is helping the organization, and you can improve and expand knowledge management. Yes. Now, knowledge management at Horizon 3000 is basically, we started with knowledge management program, KNOW-HOW 3000, as you all know it, or you don't know it that much. The objective was from the beginning clear. We laid the focus on experiences, on people's knowledge and know-how. KNOW-HOW 3000, the name for our knowledge management program, tells you exactly that it is about that implicit knowledge, that that part underwater that our project partners, our organizations, our technical advisors, our colleagues have in their brains, in their bodies, and we would like to advance the learning and share from and sharing of partners' experiences. So organizational learning is something we want to foster with it, to strengthen partner organizations' capacities to improve their impact of whatever they do for their constituency, for their target groups. Make sure that reflection on experiences, learning from experiences and sharing with others enables the partners to do their job better, and support partners in experience capitalization processes if they want to go them. I don't want to go in detail there because experience capitalization will be a whole session where Annika and myself will guide you through what Horizon 3000 understands on it and how we do it. So the next one, please. Now what the slide shows here now is the different activities and tools that we do in KNOW-HOW 3000. You can all check them at our internet platform, and we will share the link to the platform for those that have not entered it yet. But basically, next to experience capitalization, we have our Olympic Games, where we invite partners to share experiences and they can win a prize. We have let's say newly in the last 5 years developed communities of practice, which are learning communities on different topics, where technical advisors, partner organizations, and external experts join in regular exchange meetings online or physically to share and learn. We have sharing events, like in Eastern Africa last year, there was in Northern Uganda with Palm Corps and others, a sharing event on migration and development. We have a lot of other sharing events, very small ones locally, but regionally on different topics. That's where we bring people together to share and learn. And we have learning visits where organizations can visit other partner organizations, other organizations that have an expertise or do something that they would like to see, and then maybe integrate into their work. And we have the Bora TA methodology. That means that organizations can borrow a technical advisor if they have a need for a short-term consultancy, and the classical trainings are there as well. The internet platform, I will not go in detail now. You can have a look yourself and get in touch with us if you don't find the things or I don't know what it is about. But I would like to tell you that as how we do it now, like the internet platform is shown here, that has been a development after the last 10 years. And we've been doing and learning a lot, learning from failure as much as learning from our good practice. And that is what knowledge management is all about. You start, you test, you assess, you adapt. You learn, you do again, you assess, you adapt. So if you want to do knowledge management, then also be open to learn from what you do and adapt again. That's the organizational learning part, which also applies for knowledge management. And if you're not open to do that, you will never be, your colleagues, they will not do it themselves and learn and adapt and share if you, with your knowledge management, are not doing it. So try to be a leader in learning yourself when you foster knowledge management, and people will follow you. Yes. So you can go ahead. Yeah, that was my part. I think I've taken 10 minutes more than we initially said, but I think that part of the knowledge, the cycle of a person is something it is worth that I explained a little bit more. And because all my experience I have with organizations and their knowledge management is that a priority area of where they think it's not working well and they lose quite a lot of knowledge is in the staff life cycle. So we would like to invite you now to do again a little bit of reflection. Annika, would you like to facilitate that, or shall I do that? But I would need again the slide to.
Can you hear me again?
Yes, I
think we have a technical glitch here because there was supposed to be the space for the Q&A session. So we can still do the Q&A first as we resolve the issue with the screen here. So yeah, feel free to ask your questions. We will dive into the second reflection exercise after the Q&A. I think there might be some questions now, so it's better to handle it now, I think.
There is one KM and capitalization that was from the last session, and we will go into that in session number 3. And there is one comment and question directly posed to myself, which I will share with the others, is that somebody is very interested in knowing more about that and seeing the tool for the competence matrix and that competence mapping. I am happy and welcome to share that with you. So whoever is interested in that competence mapping and skills mapping and how you do that, get in touch with Annika or with myself. I have it so far in German because I use that for my team at Horizon 3000 for our knowledge management team. But it is not complicated, and it's an easy task to translate that into English and share that with you. And I would be very happy to see and share experiences how others do. Because for me, it's the core thing, managing the competences that you have in a team or in an organization is allowing you a lot to know, motivate people, structuring the skills, development, the training. It's like your basic assessment of who you have in your team, what that person brings with, and how you best manage the skills and the knowledge they have. So yes, I can share that. And they say that the challenge implementing a knowledge-driven culture has partly been answered. And you want to hear a bit more on that. It is a very, that question comes in a lot of trainings and assessments, that how can we, change our culture a bit more into the knowledge-driven. That is not an easy task, because knowledge, culture, and an organizational history and culture is something that is not developing from one day to another. It is a very, very, long-term process. And, I always see that like a big tortoise. You can move the tortoise into a new direction and telling them to move their left side and not right side, but that takes a bit of time. And it depends also a lot on where your organization stands. So this, I would say, needs to be integrated into the strategy and culture development any way that you want to do in your organization, and then integrating knowledge and how you use and deal with knowledge in your organization. And the knowledge loss risk assessment, please to share the tool. Yes, Peter, I can and I will do so. There are a few slides that I can share with you. And yeah, the video recording, if we can share them. Well, that we need to check, because it will be quite a big file. So we will see where we can upload it in a way that you can download it. How can we pass on knowledge when a staff is leaving the organization? If organizations are interested to find out more about that expert debriefing and how you structure it in a way that when people leave, they collect it, I invite you to start a community of practice on that topic. I'm more than welcome to be part of it, because it's my task to do exactly the same thing at Horizon 3000 right now, to have some kind of standards and templates of how we do it. And I do that consultancy for other NGOs at the moment. So it's a very, very hot potato in my life anyway. So I would say that after the training, whoever is interested in that debriefing and knowledge transfer processes when people leave, we form a community of practice and we organize the next meeting where we exchange and we share the experience and the tools that are there. So Nelly, and for all of the others who think that that could be a topic in the organization, let's use the tool that we have. A community of practice is very easily set up, and we have then a group where we know we all have an interest in the topic, and we can see how we share and how we learn together. Yeah. The final question I would like to take here is a very interesting one. How you would address the issue of some staff who protect the knowledge they have gained during their employment at the expense of the organization. Knowledge is power. Yeah. Knowledge is power. We had a few partner organizations that always tell us, yes, that's true, but sharing knowledge is powerful. That is also correct. And until a few years ago, I would have said that in our field of development cooperation and NGOs, I've never come across a person or an organization not willing to share. But I had to learn that it exists. Yes, we had the situation that we wanted to share and then learn on a specific topic, and we invited an organization and they say, no, we will not participate because that is a very crucial knowledge for us, and we will not share because we have developed it. So it exists, and it exists as well in organizations where there is persons that feel a kind of a risk if they expose and share what they know, that they could lose their position or lose some of their power. This is a very critical thing, and as I said, in the staff life cycle, it is management responsibility to make sure that from the beginning, from the onboarding from the selection of the people into your organization, that you tackle that issue and how we deal as an organization with knowledge and what our standards are when it comes to sharing, and try to have the positive, appreciative approach that those that share and those that contribute by sharing to the general development of an organization, that you make sure that they are seen and they are appreciated, and maintain or monitor and maintain that positive culture of knowledge sharing. Yes, that's about what I want to say on the questions raised.
Okay, yes, and I think in the interest of time, we have to call an end to the Q&A session. We still see some of the questions, and as I said, we'll go through them and see that whatever comes up that we haven't answered, maybe we can still answer afterwards or bring it back in another session. Maybe another session will answer this, or as you dive into this, this is really the beginning and it's a journey, so things will come up, and we are still here together, so we still have some time together as well. So I would like to do the second part of the reflection exercise. Wesley, if you can help to go to the slide again, where you take that piece of paper where you drew the cross and you look at the down section, and there you will write, that's the one. You can write on the one side, what is a new idea I can't stop thinking about, an idea I want to grow. So this, once again, is for yourself. It's not for anyone else. It's really just a reflection for yourself. So is there an idea that you got in this session where you feel, this is something, I don't know quite 100% what, but it's something I do want to keep thinking about. So write that in the third. Maybe you have more than one idea. Maybe there's several things that are buzzing in your head right now.
I cannot hear you anymore, Annika. It seems that you're gone, or the system is not allowing you anymore.
Hello, can you hear me now? Maybe we have to leave again the sharing.
The part of the paper that you were drawing, the cross. So the number 3 on the down here, this side, you write down the seed, some kind of idea that just came into your mind by hearing and listening to what we've told you, that you would like to grow. Oh yeah, yes, now they are there. And the number 4 on the last quadrant of the paper is, what can I do or test immediately? So out of the things that came into your mind, listening to all these things that you have heard, try to take that impulse that came into your mind, something, wow, that I could actually test with my team or my organization. That's something I would like to test immediately, and I will discuss with my colleagues. Write them down. The reason why we kind of invite you and force you to document these things here is that we all know that after such a training, you all go back to your daily work and the things, and lots of emails waiting for you to answer, and doing things to do. And the risk is high that you forget some great ideas that you had while listening to me and to Annika. So that's why we say, take a bit of time, a few minutes, and write down the ideas that you can't stop thinking about, an idea you want to grow, and write down the things that you came into your mind that you would like to test or do immediately. And we will also follow up on these questions with you. There, maybe Annika, I think there's a bit of time to share one of your ideas if you want. Is that true?
Yes, so we have 15 minutes remaining, and we're almost through with the program. So we have one small poll still remaining, but yeah, that one will not take more than 5 minutes, I think. So we can have a little bit of...
Yeah, so I would like to take 5 minutes time, write down on your paper the things that came into your mind, ideas you can't stop thinking of, and what you would like to do or test. And then again, as later with the chat, or I would say with the chat, if a few of you would like to share the things that you have written down, we can share them with the bigger group. Maybe it's influencing, inspiring others also what you had as an idea.
So let's take 5 from now for the reflection. Okay, I think you can slowly come back to the session. So wrap up your thoughts. Some have already started sharing some ideas. We have a nice bird in the background. So maybe we can pick one each, Petra. I mean, everybody, I think, can see the chat and they see the ideas that are pouring in. I think the first one that I saw was the competence mapping and sort of the idea that staff might have so many things that were not included in the job description or in what you were looking for, and that sort of there's that idea now that you can map this and you can get a bigger understanding of what this person comes with and how you can utilize this. So I think this is a nice idea to think of it in that way and to sort of see the staff more holistically than just your job description. Yes, Petra.
Yes, and I would like to add something there which came into my mind. Because this competence mapping can be done in the different levels of an organization. For instance, Horizon 3000, with all the technical advisors and colleagues we have gone through a classical mapping with some kind of Excel tool to integrate it into our online platform, because we're just too numerous by now and too globally spread. So whatever we do when new staff enters or technical advisors enter the organization, we ask them to fill in their competences in the profile that we have at KNOW-HOW3000, and now we can have a very easy search. So I just entered and said I want to find out who is having competence in land rights issues and human rights, And then the search shows me, okay, this is the 5 persons within the partner community or the technical advisors that we have. And that is the basement for a BOR-ATA, because if staff and advisors you have, and it can be field staff in your communities, they are getting too numerous, you lose the overview of what the people can actually do and what competence they have. So you have to have a look at what is your structure, how many people and persons you have and stuff, and then define what type of tool or mapping is best serving your needs. And as I said, on the one hand, Horizon 3000 has that competence tool integrated into the platform. But on the other hand, for my very small knowledge management team, we're 4 persons. Every year at our yearly meeting, we do and check the competences to decide together what kind of skills and trainings do we actually need for our team. Because first of all, you have the objective, what you want to achieve as a team or as an organization. Then you check what do we need as a competence to do that. And then you check what competence do we actually have as a team. And that might end up having, we're quite well equipped with IT competence, what we lack a lot of virtual facilitation of meetings right now. And then together as a team, in a very transparent way, you know that's what we have as a team. And that's what we could actually get on knowledge from outside. That's where we get a training. That's where we get a BOR-ATA, etc., etc. So we have both. And I'm willing to share the different approaches that are there and what is feasible for what type of organization and for what size. Yes. The one that I found quite interesting is the mechanisms of unlocking the potential and knowledge of the employees. Yes, I think that's an idea. I'm very happy to hear that you would like to let grow, focusing on persons, and it's very motivating to your staff, to your colleagues, to see that you take it serious, the knowledge they have, you take them as a person serious, and the knowledge they have. Every single person, from the accountant to a field officer to a farmer, has very, very significant and valuable knowledge for what they do and for the development of a community or whatever. So managing the knowledge better and having a structure and objectives for what you want to do with the knowledge of your people is appreciating their role, because it tells them, wow, they take the time to reflect and think of how we best deal with all the knowledge that is out there. And it's not just telling everybody now we want to document everything that we know because it's important. No, that's not the task. It's the task to take some time and reflect and see what is really crucial and necessary for us to know. Is it knowledge on autochthonous seeds, on different seeds that exist locally? Is that the knowledge that we need? Then we can clearly focus on that. And also in the monitoring and reporting, we could focus on that. Or is it strategy development that is the knowledge that we need because we lack that, etc. So it is appreciation and motivation for your team if you take that serious. And that's also my experience in whatever organization I've had the chance to enter with the topic. It motivates a lot, and it lowers the risk that people get really demotivated and they leave your team because they think, no, my knowledge is not best used here, and they don't take care, or they're not interested in developing and sharing what I know.
Yes, and I mean, we don't really have time to go into many more now, but I think as the ideas that you mentioned, they're really going into those challenging parts also of how do we sell the idea to others, how do we get this across, how do we handle knowledge loss. So those are ideas to really think about. And as we said, like, there's not a uniform way, so there can be tools, and as Petra said, we're ready to share those. But also there's always a way of how do you want to use it? How do you want to do this? So yes, keep thinking about it. So it's great if the idea is there, and if it's like, okay, this is something I want to handle, but then keep thinking, okay, how could I handle this at my organization? What can we do? Because you know your organization best, right? So we can come in with certain tools, certain methods, certain suggestions, but it's down to you as to how you want to use this. All right.
And that I think is giving also the comment from Peter van Erum that this people doing it already, and the guerrilla method is happening a lot without people knowing. And that is leading us to our final question. And before we do that, I really invite you that what Annika just said, you need to get it into your own organization. also means, and I always invite people and recommend them, try to think of a name of what you want to do with knowledge management and not call it knowledge management. That's actually my suggestion, because it's a term that lots of people and your field officer will say, wow, now there's something extra work coming along, and that sounds too complex and too difficult for me. That's nothing for me. But try to think of something, what is really at the heart, at the core that you want to achieve with that, and give it a name that fits your organization, your wording, your culture, even your local languages. In Senegal, the first knowledge management program, we called it Xam-Xam, which means in Wolof, knowledge, wisdom. And with the Xam-Xam project, every single farmer knew exactly what we wanted about, what it was about. And it was a success because we integrated into the local language and the local context of our work, and not giving it some complex knowledge management project name, which is sometimes hindering the integration into your work.
I think that's very important, as a very nice way also of ending this session, of really pointing out is about what you do and not to focus on the names or whatever. So talking about what you do, we have now really the perfect turnover to our final poll this time. So please go back to the Slido website. You remember it from the beginning of the session. You go on your browser, maybe you still have it open. And I think we have it, can we go on to it as well on our side, so that we open the poll for you. Okay, see. We will share the screen once again so that you can see it. And so we have activated the poll. So go on Slido.do, go there, and the question that will pop up for you: how much of your work time is actually knowledge management? And I'm very curious to see what you put.
And for those that are not yet there again, the code again is in the chat.
Yes, thank you, Petra. The code is 34605. And we have already 8 votes coming in. I think now you should also be able to see it live, right?
Yes.
Yes.
We are not seeing what you see. We only see that how many people participated and my own choice. Ah, now it comes. How much of your work? Yes. We can see it now.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of knowledge managers out there. I'm really curious to connect with all of you. You're all knowledge workers and knowledge managers.
Let's see. So we have 28 votes right now. So let's give it another 1 or 2 minutes. Let's bring the votes up a bit.
I just put in the chat again how you can enter Slido and the code, because it was somehow sent only to Nelly as a private message. I'm sorry for that.
Yes, so Slido and code 34605 in case it's not open. And then how much of your work time is actually knowledge management? We are on 44 votes, and we do have quite a few people who do a lot of knowledge management already.
Which for me is a very important message also to pass on to your colleagues in the organization, to take out that fear that is something, that knowledge management is something that is new and you need to start now. Try to pass on the knowledge that we already do it. Let's take a bit of time and reflect if we do it the right way already. Is it serving our needs, or do we need to adapt a little bit, to make it a bit more integrated and strategic, because it, as I said, it motivates people if they know, okay, that is something we do anyway, and as all our other processes, let's do them in a way that they serve best our needs.
Exactly. So I think, well, we are still getting some few votes in. So let's have, we are approaching also the end of the session, and I think we just allow it to run now. But I think what you can see is also really what Petra said. So a lot of these things that you do already are some way of knowledge management. So you're already doing something, and it's important to keep that in mind and to keep that set of, yes, doing things and maybe adjusting what you do, but to really have that in mind, that by now what we have 35% saying between 50 to 75% of their work time is already knowledge management. We have 27% saying almost up to 100% of their work time is knowledge management. So you are already doing this. And so now this session can help you look at, maybe there are different methods of what you can do. Maybe there are certain tools that you can use. Maybe there are certain tweaks that you can twist so that it improves or it is more aligned with what you want to do. So this is really what this session can deliver for you, that we look into this. And then from this, you can take this as a starting point to look at your own practice and to look at what your organization is doing and to see how you can adapt this, how you can make this useful for yourself. So that is, as we mentioned throughout, that is sort of an individual question that is about your organization. But I wanted this poll also to give you some confidence, because sometimes I feel there's that lack of confidence that is in knowledge management is something special, something where you need someone from outside to do it. But I think when you look at this of what you're already doing it. So have that confidence also to try out more things and to really keep doing it. Petra, is there anything you would still like to say?
No, maybe I close the session with one very short story from Senegal, where it was one of the first countries where we really integrated knowledge management in the program. And I once visited a partner organization in central Senegal that Horizon 3000 collaborates with. And in that field visit, there one person of that organization, he was called the documentalist, so the person in charge to document everything, a very classical knowledge management position. And he said, Petra, come, I need to show you what we are documenting here. And very proud, and he stood in front of piles and loads of papers, of printouts, really like 10 times these paper staples. And look, Petra, that's our documentation. That's what we do and document in this project and the different projects we had with Horizon 3000. And I was so, yeah, a little bit shocked and overwhelmed. And I only asked one question to this very proud person. It's like, but why do you document all of this? And he himself, this person who in charge of documenting and the whole project team, was staring at me and told me, well, we have never asked that question to ourselves, and nobody has ever asked that. We just document because we think it's important. And that's why I am a fan, and at my heart, I want to spread the word to say knowledge management is good, but it's not itself something you need to do because somebody tells you. It's something that please do it in a strategic way, serving your needs, and not because somebody tells you.
Yes, thank you, Petra. And that is once again a nice way of leading to the next session. So the next session is about the capacity assessment. How do you do a capacity assessment at your organization? And we will present the tool that we have developed, which is a benchmarking tool of seeing here what is out there, what could it be, and where do we stand, for you to help you look into what do we have and to look at what do we want, what strategic direction do we want. So that will be part of the next session. And I thank you everyone for participating today, for being very active today, for being patient for the small technical glitches we had here and there. We are learning, as I said, so we are learning with the Zoom and with the other tools. So thank you for that. And I hope it was an interesting session for you. Thank you very much, Petra, for being there. I think this has been wonderful to co-facilitate with you, and I think it has been very helpful for everyone to learn from you and to tap into your experience. And thank you also, Wesley, for this perfect behind the scenes working. This was wonderful. So thank you, everyone, and I hope to see you again in 2 weeks' time.
And really, it's the first time we have like more than 90 participants, and that will be at least one newsletter post and in the Horizon 3000 blog, and will be widely spread. Everybody's just like, oh my God, how do you manage to get that many participants? And we just say it's because the topic is so interesting and such a strategic relevant one that we have more than 90 participants. Thank you for taking your time to learn and to reflect together with us. And I'm looking forward to seeing you soon online here.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice day too. God bless you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you from Tanzania.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you from Tanzania.
Thank you very much, Nairobi.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Thank you for good presentation. See you next session.
Haya, asanteni, kwa heri.
Hapa.
Kwaherini. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Sasa ukitaka wakuone. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup.
Juliana na wewe mwenzio mzungu.
Sign out. Simwela amesema bye bye.
Yes. I'm just listening to people's audios. Wow.
Maybe you mute us? No? Maybe you can mute me?